Okay, so I've actually taped my 25.5 inch scale fret ruler down to my fretboard with a single piece of tape on one end, and I'm going through and very carefully with a fine point pencil, 0.5 lead, marking my places. And I found out earlier that by looking from the side I had actually put my marks in the wrong place, and I had to erase some of them and start over. So I'm looking straight down. Okay, Jared's marking his nut about 3/4 of an inch from the end of the piece of wood, and when we glue the fretboard on, then we'll just trim off what we don't need. Because it's a fender style head, we'll actually be cutting it out. What do you think?
Looks pretty square to me.
Okay, that's pretty square, that's accurate. Okay. Is it right?
No, not 100%. I mean, it's not really off, but it's not perfect.
How close is it? Less than a line width or saw curve?
Well, it's certainly less than the thickness of the saw, anything like that.
I can see my marks pretty well without a flashlight, and if I put my pencil mark right against the side of that block that I added, I should be able to do this accurately. So I can lock this down. Saw in there and see what it looks like with the saw blade in there. Perfect. I don't see a problem with that. All right. Okay, the question we're dealing with right now is how much difference is 20 thousandths going to make on intonation at one of these upper frets? Because I'm about 20 thousandths off on my cut on this, about the saw blade width. I'm trying to line this up. This is a very difficult miter box to use. It's what I've got. It's the only thing I've got that's even close to accurate. But I can't see very well underneath all this stuff to line things up, and so my blade was off about 20 thousandths that way from the mark. If I decide to use this fretboard, you know, I need to figure out how much difference that's going to make with intonation. So I'm not going to waste my time cutting any more of these. Well, I'm going to cut one more just to see if I can get it right. But after that, I'm not going to waste my time cutting any more because it's a waste of time. Okay. Now, since I scribed my line on there, I actually moved it that time and got it in place. I think this one's going to be right on. So let me do one more. That is so sad. That one is the other side of the line. Which doesn't make any sense at all. And the reason it doesn't make any sense at all is because I was using the wrong scale. Always check your scale. It's got 4 scales on this ruler. Use the right one. Okay. This is off about 10 thousandths one way, and that one's off about 10 thousandths the other way. Okay, I made a mess of this fretboard. This one's going to be trash, but it's good to learn on it. I'm about 30 thousandths off actually on this one, and about 20 on this one. Obviously the nut is the starting point, so that's right on. I went and did a little bit of research and found out that you got maybe about 10 thousandths leeway on your average fret. It's probably not as important up here where the frets are further apart, but I'm still not going to use this fretboard because this is starting off bad, and I've got extra. This is plenty of wood to work with here. What I did was I experimented with this. I simply could not figure out how to align this properly by eye. So, changed my way of doing things. I actually started cutting the frets by hand, or at least starting them by hand, and I can look at it out here by eye and get it aligned and do a good start on it. And then put it in here and cut the rest of the cut by dropping the saw blade into that notch that I've just created, and then starting my cut. I did that on the last 4 frets that I cut, and they were within 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch of accuracy, which is as good as you could possibly get. An update on where we are on this. I got tired of this moving around, so I mounted it to a piece of MDF strap and drilled some holes in it so I could stick the bench dogs in and stick it to the bench, since I've already got holes in the bench. The method of pre-cutting the edge and then mounting it in the miter box and slotting the blade into that notch that I've already pre-cut, and then clamping it down and cutting the rest of it has worked very well. In fact, every cut I've made since then has been just perfectly accurate, within 2 or 3 thousandths of an inch, which is as accurate as you can possibly get. And in the process I learned something with this, and that is that I thought it was a bit too much to ask somebody to actually cut frets by hand, to cut fret slots by hand. I now know that if I could get used to feeling, gauging the depth by hand, which I'm sure I could get used to doing that, I wouldn't have any problem cutting them by hand. It's actually fairly easy. Your eye and your hand are very good tools and very accurate tools. So even my old eyes are fairly accurate tools. So I've learned something in this process. The other thing I've done is I've added a little box here to catch some of the sawdust, so that we'll have some dust to patch things up with if we have any tear out or anything like that later on when we're doing the dots or any other kind of inlay that we do. So that's about it.